Phoenix. Representing polarity. Iller than ever before. Polarity. That's the universal law.
You know Phoenix set it off right. Haters mad they can't copy the archetype. Awesome light that's glowing out my avatar. MCs rather spark, get sabotaged. Our destiny was written in the ethers. That's why we make shit look seamless. Gotta resurrect the people when they fall behind. Can't carry a leader, I'm a cardinal sign. Two sides to the laws of attraction. There's an equal and an opposite reaction. We represent all signs, no slacking. From Leo love to Aquarius detachment. Top renegades, lyrical assassins. Y'all not made of the same type fabric. We here to ascend. God in human skin. In the game of life, baby, all we do is win.
Bullseye till I Scorpio, I'ma shoot again. Word killer, that's Gemini, getting the eighth verbal. Edibles that can get him high with a taste. We all satisfied, we really just getting by on the plate. Wow, that's a planet without an end. Getting my infinite plane, I spin around it again. Liquid fire is spilling out of my pen. We overturning this ending how it begins. Handcrafted Ouroboros, leather boots on the ground grass. Always feel audible meal, this made a sound grass. I drift off like the smoke from the barrel of shaft. The principal with such class, I balance the staff. Too late to sip a rewind from the hourglass. I calculated each step even without math. Screw the lightning bolts in the sky. I rush the clouds crash. Thought wheels spin in the sky even without sun. Sun,
dark,
light,
high, low,
day,
night.
sun,
left, right, flow,
as above,
so below. We on a mission to slay the enemy totally. Bars is deadly, weaponized poetry. I'm held up in high esteem with respect. So is the pinnacles of every queen in the deck. What? You ain't never seen God in the flesh? Can't duplicate the qualities that we possess. We gon' make them all bow down and confess. You in 3D, we playing 5D chess.
You know the league's best, don't you see the finesse? The plan is planning everything, no needing to guess. We just kicking the door in, we don't need a request. Uranus, the one-man SWAT team, kaboomerang. Spun the block, got it made, swiping on your clocks clean. It's our time, speaking crystals in the watch screen. The stars align, they admitted we the top team. We manifested every vision, these are not dreams.
Beams from the sun shine like a Leo. Aquarius, the opposite, that's the people. Capricorns on the rise straight through the ceiling. All my Cancer crabs in touch with they feelings.
Every season from the top when you elevate. And Libra keep the scales on me like I'm selling weight. Big hip to the stars, now that's a starship. Back to back hits, I ain't never seen the arms miss.
Go to war like an Aries if you bring beef. Or like a Libra, we can negotiate peace.
For my Sag archers, Gemini thinkers. Leo on the stage, Aquarian change bringers.
Gemini, that's the twins, yeah, cause it's two. Sag hopping on flights and schooling you.
This for Scorpios, killing them with my Taurus bulls. Virgos working they shift, Piscean orbital. Sun,
dark,
light,
high, low,
day,
night,
sun,
left, right, flow,
as above,
so below.
This polarity all day. Ain't no fall without spring. Very head to the tail. Keep on balancing the scale. World over. Top Phoenix. Zodiac.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the way to start something off, you understand?
Yes, that's a bop right there. Yes. I was over here.
I had to bopinize, okay? I had to bopinize because,
I was over here bopping, like, yeah, that's where it's at. I like that.
I got the masterminds in the building. You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, listen.
And the perfect space of polarity. You know what I'm saying? The polarity is not polar opposite as in opposition, polar complements that represent the magical healing modalities that exist within us when properly applied. So I get to welcome my educators on, the ones who teach me. So if I sound profoundly, it's a result of these two masterminds that are here right here, okay? Because they require excellence. They require things that are not subpar. And It's not just in word, it's in deed. So if I fall off track or if I'm out here tripping all of a sudden, drinking some of this Kool-Aid, I'm gonna get a checkup from the neck up and a whooping from the behind now. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm gonna get back in order. So uh, I honor their collective sacrifices and their collective contributions to our overall healing and proper development. So I'm gonna start with that, and it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some, present the others together for the first time on the screen with me. Okay, over here, uh, my Queen Mother, MaWu Liza Temple, MaWu Roo, and my queen, my king brother over here. You understand what I'm saying? Big brother Almighty, educator, motivator, and inspirer, and intercessor, and the community daddy. You understand what I'm saying? Shout out to the community daddy, raising up our young people in the way they should go. Our educator, Nick Westbrook. Welcome to the platform together.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us in this space. I really appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Likewise, much gratitude and salutes to the living legend in the media and constant space, for having us on. It's an honor. It's an honor to be on this platform, the long-standing platform, YouTube for a long time, Blog Talk Radio prior to that.
Yes.
So, salutes. Definitely an honor.
Media mogul, y'all. Y'all see it. Y'all see it. This is legacy. This is what legacy look like, y'all. Y'all know that's my saying. That's what legacy look like.
We was on Blog Talk so long, it's off now, right? Ain't no more Blog Talk.
No,
right?
It's still a little bit once in a while.
I think they shut the company down. I think
my goodness.
They merged with Spreaker or something.
We used to be able to get our talking music going over there,
right.
boy.
Right. And what I learned from that experience when I tried to merge with Spreaker and Spotify and all that, they're like, oh, all that talking you did with that music, we can't have it.
None of that. Took so many things away from us.
All right. Okay.
And then, you know what? I think part of that was a big part of what we'll kind of be addressing in the, choosing the education and the things that our children take in, because a lot of people were using that space to introduce music that wasn't mainstream and be able to decode it and share the deeper messages that many artists were at that time trying to make sure it got out there. So it was definitely a different space. I spent many years on there, boy. Sometimes I worry about going back and listening to something. I was young. I was fiery, man. I was talking some junk back then, boy. I tell you.
We loved it, though. We loved it, and we made it our own. They had talk radio. They had AM. There's still AM stations that exist that never changed none of their format. We could probably be content on somebody's AM station where they listen to these things that we had out and discuss them in grave detail, and we'll never know nothing about them.
Absolutely.
So if the jig was up, then the jig was up. If you look at these other platforms, they don't have the capability that Blog Talk had.
Yes.
But they have the notoriety, quote unquote, but they don't have the capability because call in on the telephone.
Yes.
Literally put you in the seat like you had a real live call-in radio show. And some folks operated it like that. So rest in peace to one of our warrior teachers, Dr. Ava Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with her and her family. We wouldn't know Dr. Ava unless we was registered members or seen those things. She had elevated places for years over there.
Yeah.
Like I only know what Miss Blue looked like because she showed up her face like 2 years ago. But before that, it was like 55 years. Miss Blue was over there doing the astrological, metaphysical masterpiece, Queen Mother stuff. You understand? Like I was like, is that a real person? That's really
Yes,
Miss
it
Blue.
is.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
So it's
it
like, all right,
is.
right. So from
Yes,
from
it is.
shadows. I don't know. For I think the first 5 or 6 years for me, they didn't know I was a real person either. So when I popped up on YouTube, they're like, "Who this Joker?" Who this
I know
Joker?
that's
Yeah.
right.
But it works. So yeah, definitely give credence and space to the archives that were shared there
Yeah.
because that was at least 1,200 episodes for me over there.
That was a lot of books written over there if we
Right,
would have been writing them down. A
right,
Yeah.
right, right,
lot of books
right,
written over there.
right.
So
So yeah, 1,200, and I still have to write the books about those episodes, and then versus the YouTube, and then whatever's here, and I'm still recording. So you never know. But
absolutely, absolutely. Like I
all,
said,
all of
media
that,
mogul. Media
all of
mogul.
that aside, we here for y'all.
Yes.
It's your holiday today. I wanted y'all on during the month of December where I did something with the shift in focus in regards to the cultural shift series to close out the calendar year. And I was like, oh, education popped up. I was like, oh, let me go beg my people. They was like, nah, fam, we busy. We get back to you. All right, get
Take
back
a
to
lot
you.
of work.
All
It
right.
take a lot of work. It
So
take a lot
yeah,
of
so I was like, yeah, I understand, and I hold it up until y'all come. So now y'all here. Y'all were doing things, and we were doing things in tandem and in collaboration. So I want to give some credence to such a thing that happens on an annual basis, the precipice, the genesis, and its application, and looking from its transition point as we continue to go. So, Mama,
Well, thank you. I just want to thank I want to thank you both. For being amazing companions. You know, it was hard growing up as a nerd. Because I didn't know it was a passionate nerd too, a revolutionary passionate nerd. So it was hard. It was hard growing up like that by myself a lot of times, and so to be in these spaces and places for the last 20 some odd years. My oldest daughter is 38, so the last 30 years. So the last 30 years to be in these kind of spaces and be able to just share and be a part of where we're going to in the future, where shaping and developing our future. It's just an honor, and to be able to do it with two such amazing men is just is fantastic. So thank you both. Thank you. Thank you everybody who is watching. For those of you who know me and for those of you who don't, my name is Roo. MaWu Roo. I am the health and wellness educator and principal educator at MaWu Liza Temple, located upstate New York, Hudson Valley. Originally started in New Jersey, we have another temple in North Carolina, and we are here. And so I've been here in this area doing this kind of work since about 2016. And the different work that we do workshops and community education on just about everything. Our main focus is usually health and wellness from a holistic perspective. So that includes everything, financial, mental, physical, and so on. So there's no topic that you won't find us talking about at some time. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have a space where I'm not limited to just talking about one thing. Um, Human Rights Week is something that until 2017 I had never heard of. And what I mean by I never heard of it is because it wasn't one. There was there was a Human Rights Day that was sponsored by the UN, and we'll kind of go into that when we, talk a little bit about their history and their origin. But there was a Human Rights Day, and the first time that came across my desk, and I was asked to participate at some level, I saw that there were things that were severely lacking for my community. and it made me desire to want to be a part of, you know, those moving forward, the vanguards that made this important in our community and allow our people to be able to not only know these things but apply these things and ask questions. That's our main thing, is getting people to think for themselves, which in this day and time is it sounds easier than it is. So that's kind of just the origin. And again, I could talk about how it went from a day to a week, but I want to give Nick an opportunity to talk about how he got involved as well.
Thank you for that. And I came about Human Rights Day, Human Rights Week from meeting Roo, back in 2019. If you all don't know, we have an unread book review show. So we initially connected on our love for books, and then in our conversations, she dropped that gem on me about human rights. She gave me a document which is known as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and I was completely unaware of it, prior to 2019. And then from there, I started participating in the programs and in the conversations facilitated by MaWu Liza Temple, and that's where my journey began. Just getting tapped and receiving that information from the the wonderful sister, the Queen Mother, here on the screen.
Yes, thank
she
you.
Dope, ain't she, Nick? Ain't she dope?
Absolutely.
She be always trying to be passing out flowers and stuff. And, you know what I'm saying? We don't get into her dopeology. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. We don't get into like we would just be, circulating our time with somebody who wasn't in the dopeology clan. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
hey, come on,
maybe
now.
for a couple of little something. You understand what I'm saying? But not for years. Not with years of dedication involved. You understand what I'm saying? The dopeology, the dopeness. You understand? It's like, all right.
Yeah. Without the needle.
Like, mothers was the reason why you came over, or you didn't come back over no more. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
I
get to your house, man. You know what I'm saying? Your mother, she don't like me. Or hey, Ma. It's one or the other. It wasn't no gray area with that. So, like,
right.
Like, all right, well, your mother
but,
over there.
Thank you.
I'll come over there when your mother ain't over there. You understand?
You know what? You gotta let me be serious. Anybody that knows me knows
okay,
look. This is my natural disposition and personality. I'm silly anyway, but they bring it out even more. Let me just say, what Nick said about us getting started on the human rights thing together in 2019. That was the first time I had ever kind of mentioned it to him, but we had started connecting over the books even before then, because there were some books that you were sharing that had a lot of the information that I had been trying to put together and find a way to deliver to the community in a digestible way. Sometimes I can overthink things and make things complicated. So knowing that about myself, I was always looking for ways to be able to deliver the information in a way that anybody can get it, from a child to an adult. And so Nick, being an educator, when I brought it to him in 2019, I was ready at that point to say, this is what I have, and how can you help me to get this started? So initially, when, like I said, when this came across my desk back in 17, it was just like a form letter, like, hey, we know you're an educator in your community. This is what's going on. Would you like to do something in your community? We'll send you an information packet and you can distribute it, blah, blah, blah. So, being in health and wellness, being in the space of uplifting fallen humanity, it wasn't the first time I had found out about the United Nations. As a matter of fact, one of the things I tell people is, one of the women truly admired, it was, you know, Eleanor Roosevelt, and she had a big part to play with the development of the United Nations, and later on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So so I was familiar with them, but I was not familiar with the fact that they were doing so much in the youth spaces. Now, growing up in New Jersey, you always heard about them incorporating the youth in the environmental things. We had the Sprig and all these water well programs, all these different things they did in the summer, but I never heard of anything like that. And unless your interest was like in politics or law or something like that, you wouldn't even get introduced to these kind of things. So when this came across my desk and I saw they had people as young as 9 years old participating in these programs and doing debates and speaking and going to conferences and talking about all these very adult issues, I'm asking myself, well, why aren't the youth in my community a part of this conversation? Because if anybody's rights is being violated, it's theirs. You know what I mean? I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, Brick City, you know, and I saw more rights violated in the course of a day than I'd like to admit. You know what I'm saying? To myself and to others. So to see that this kind of work was going on someplace and there was nobody talking to our community about it, as a parent, you know, as a mom, as a umi, the first thing I did was went to the other umis. I went to the other women and I said, have y'all heard of this? And they looking at me like I'm talking a whole nother language. And so I asked them a very simple question. Well, do you know your rights? And there, hence, the conversation got started because they had never heard of these things. And the more and more I asked people, the more and more disappointed I became because I realized that we were completely in the dark. You don't know how many people in New Jersey spend a lot of their day in New York City. You know what I mean? We go to the city back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, some of us walk right past the UN and have no idea what they got going on in there. None, not even the least. They don't know anything about what the United Nations do. And I can admit that outside of the limited information that I had, because on Blog Talk, Red Pill, Blue Pill, all of us, we used to talk about going to the United Nations. I remember when they went for the very first time. You know what I mean? And they came back and reported to us, let us know what the real deal was. So you know, by the time I brought this to Nick, I was actually really frustrated. I was disappointed. But I wasn't surprised because we truly cannot look towards a system that's set up to destroy us to also tell us, hey, by the way, you got these rights and we can stop doing this stuff if you tell us to. You know what I mean? Or if you know what it is we supposed to be doing. And so to this day, as it stands, the United Nations has one day that they dedicate to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it's in December. The date changes because you know how the month falls. But one day, Nick and I, we quickly figured out that one day wasn't enough for our community. So when I went to him like, well, we're going to try this for this one day because I'm thinking, you know, everybody's going to be interested. They're just going to come flocking to hear what our rights are and how we get them. And I'll let Nick kind of tell you how that first year went because it was not what we thought it was going to be. So Nick, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, needless to say, it didn't meet those expectations. You know, I believe our first event was a virtual event on Zoom conversation discussing the article. Forgot the specific number, but the article dealing with education. That was the first topic we focused on, And like I said, that was a Zoom conversation. You could probably count, if not two hands, definitely one hand, how many people attended that conversation, after we thoroughly promoted it, so
thoroughly.
Yeah, I mean that's all there was to it.
It was, it was just so. I remember, I'm very transparent. Anybody that knows me knows I practice radical transparency. I don't have no problem with ugly crying, in places, letting people know I got snot boogers, all the good stuff. Well, I would tell you, I cried after that Zoom event. I cried because, like Nick said, we had did thorough promotion. Like the internet is not my first space. As we were talking about before we came online, some of my lectures is on VHS tape. So I've been doing this thing for a minute. So all this getting on, promoting and making posts and all this, that was not my thing. Nick took over so thoroughly, and I thank him for that, using all of his education, that Howard education, you know what I'm saying? He was using all of that, stuff that he learned in his craft, in his field, to be able to make sure that we really were trying to reach people. Even so much so, we saw that some of the other schools were doing things like essays and, offering up gift cards and things like that for pieces of art. We even tried that route, and it just seemed like the people were just not interested. We had homeschoolers that we knew not only from the internet, but from professionally and personally. We would invite all of these people out, and nobody showed up. And the part that really made me disappointed and sad was, a few weeks later, you hear these same people talking about the school system and how much it sucks, and their children not learning anything, and blah 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 blah. And when that unscheduled time at home came, we got to see what education looks like at home, in the schools, how far they're willing to go to educate your children, whose responsibility it is, and everything else. And I really truly thought that was going to be the thing that made people say, now's the time to take control of our children's education. And again, that next year we tried again. We tried again, and we've been doing our work ever since. And I'll talk about how we went from a day to a week, and by the time I get finished, we gonna be every day. You know what I mean? Most High willing, because I'm about at my wit's end, just being able to walk up to someone, adult or child, and say, hey, what are your rights? Do you know any of your 30 human rights? Do you know that they even exist? You know what I mean? So that first year was devastating, disappointing, and it just really made me look at my peers differently and their thoughts about the education of their children, because I homeschool my children. My children, much like you, when you were talking about when you went to school, you were ready for the 4th grade according to the skills that your parents had and your family had imparted upon you. When I went to school, they were trying to get my children. My son was like, I read that when I was 8. What are you talking about? Like, you have to come with something better than that. Talk to my mom about my curriculum, because this is not going to fly. And had it not been for organized sports, my children probably would have never went back to, those places, but they wanted to be able to participate in things like football, basketball, baseball, all the stuff that, at that time, because there were very few homeschoolers at that time. At that time, they had no place to do those kind of things unless there was some kind of community program. And so they did the martial arts and all that stuff like that, but it was no place for that type of socialization. So that's the only reason they ever ended up going back to those spaces. And even then, in those spaces, I still helped to direct what their curriculum was going to look like, because I knew that that was within my rights. So yeah, that's how that went for me.
So first year of y'all working together, and then going forward, like what were some of the adjustments? You know, what was kind of like that flow in regards to, it's like, all right, lesson learned. Uh, did what did y'all take from the lessons learned, and then what did y'all sort of implement, and then was there a fluctuation in between, if we're forecasting, looking at each year since 2019?
Nick, you can go ahead and jump in there.
Yeah, well, one thing that I know both of us kind of realize, and we the sentiment that we repeat regardless of the programs that we're doing, whether it's human rights, whether it's, you know, our cultural discussions on Clubhouse, you know, we always say that the people that show up are the people that are supposed to be there. You know, so that was a big lesson that we learned after that. And it also reminded us that although the turnout wasn't what we expected and what we wanted, we could not discount and forget about the blessings and the positives that came from the conversations and the building with the individuals who did show up, you know. So you know, counting the blessings, of course, that was a main thing. And then I think the preparation and the extension from a day into a week was also another major adjustment, you know, from my perspective, you know, being that it is one day, and, you know, giving folks the benefit of the doubt that, you know, maybe they had other things planned ahead of time. By extending it to a week, you give folks more options and less excuses, you know, for not being there as well. And, you know, just also realizing that is such a heavy topic and broad topic to cover that, you know, you need more time to build on it and dwell on it, and let these ideas marinate. And if you've never seen the document, Roo just mentioned that it's 30, you know, 30 rights, 30 rights, with, you know, which is, yeah, yep, that's the document right there, the booklet right there. So it is a lot of information to unpack. So that's another reason why, you know, it was necessary to expand the conversations and the building from a single day to a full week. So I see that as the adjustments we made from those previous years to 2024. And I think going forward from 2024, going into 2025, like Bruce said, expanding it beyond a week, then also looking at other innovative ways to reach out to the community, whether it's the virtual or the brick and mortar community. I know, just reflecting on my own skills and expertise. And while I do have some skills and expertise, there's definitely some areas where I can, you know, sharpen and tighten up and be a little bit more intentional when it comes to planning and execution. But, you know, those were some of the media lessons that I you know, kind of noticed and picked up on, you know, just reflecting on the past human rights conversations and events we've had.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry, were you going to say something, brother?
I was going to ask about to include, since Nick brought it up, because he fly too. Don't let him fool you. Look, we did that with you, so I'm gonna do that with him real quick. He's a fly guy. You understand
Fly
what
guy.
I'm saying?
Fly
Fly
guy.
guy. Yeah. So planning something of this magnitude pre social media variants, and then including now a space like Clubhouse, right? A space like Clubhouse in the advent of the time to implementation strategy initially off, and then it's like, all right, we know one way to get the word out. You understand what I'm saying? Or whatever, we did what we did. So now implementing in the social media aspect, and then social audio also. Did we see increase, decrease, or was that part of the implementation strategy? I just wanted to ask before I forgot, because I know you about to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, neither one of us had attempted something like this online. I'm very much a brick and mortar person. I'm the old school, go to the lectures, be at the lectures, giving the lectures. And so being in bookstores, being in libraries, being in spaces where we do these things in person. And so you can read your room, you read your audience, if the people came there, they came because they were there to hear whatever it was the speaker had to say. So the adjustment with the doing the Zoom thing, I remember thinking to myself, I don't even know how many hundreds of invitations we sent out, and we didn't even expect, let me say that, we didn't even expect it to be a packed house, if you will, but we did expect at least a core group of, parents and educators, to and people who are on these platforms, talking about all these positive things. We expected at least them to show up, because think about this for a second, and I'm no communication specialist and news reporter or anything like that, but if there's a press release about to happen, all the press people show up. If nobody else do, you understand what I'm saying? They all show up because then they can go talk to their audience about it. And I guess in my mind, that was one of the things I was thinking. I was like, well, even if all the parents don't show up, if I can get one parent from 3 schools, that's 3 schools we can impact. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my thinking when we were first doing the initial planning. And we didn't jump right from that first attempt of one day into a week. We moved in there slowly. We moved in there slowly because we had to see if maybe it was something we can improve on. I'm a solution-based person, so maybe we could have done something a little bit different. Maybe we could have done something to appeal to the audiences in a different manner. Moving over to more audio spaces, because I had already been in audio spaces since, like I said, Blog Talk, and then when Clubhouse first started, I was one of the first people on there, we would spend days on Clubhouse at one time talking about all kinds of things. So it was a familiar space for me. And I love talking to myself. I don't mind talking to myself because I get some great answers back. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, if nobody showed up, I looked at it like, well, much like everything else I do, they say you give what it is you need. So when you see me giving in these spaces, talking about some of these things in these spaces, these are things that I either need still, or I've needed upon my journey of healing. And I know that everybody doesn't get it the same way and won't get it the same way. Some people are audio people, some people are visual people. But one thing I do know, like Nick said, is by offering things in more ways, we were trying to remove some of the excuses, because as you know, brother, we supposed to make 99 excuses for our brothers and our sisters. So here we are trying to make these 99 excuses like, well, maybe it was too early, maybe it was too late, maybe it was a day, you know, and we tried to cater to everyone. And eventually, even when it became a week, we saw that if the people weren't dedicated to coming out and get it, no matter what platform we gave it on, they wasn't going to be there. Now, one thing I will say is that the initially, you know, with Blog Talk, that was always archived. At one time, Clubhouse was not. So you could not go back and listen to some of those awesome discussions that we had. But now that is a space where you know you can say, all right, you know, replays allowed or what have you, and be able to save that information there if you know want people moving forward. So now when you sit in there and you talk to yourself, you're basically saying, for those who are here now and listening, for those who may listen later on, same thing with YouTube and anything else that we tend to be able to do in this time now moving forward.
So what was the shift like as far as participation with from initial to over the years in regards to that? Did it become something that you both expected to grow, expand? Like, what kind of were your expectations in regards to that? And then what was it in actuality?
I'll let Nick go first.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's been consistent with our first year. You know, from my perspective, even across all of the you know, the various platforms and methods of delivery. Although I will say this, although the number of participation has been consistent, I would say we did have different voices and different faces and different representation, you know. So that is, you know, something that I am grateful for. You know, I would have loved to have had the voices from the previous years along with the voices from the newer years all combined together, so we can grow and have the familiar faces and voices kind of be there to support, back up the conversations that they were present for, and along with embracing and engaging with those newer perspectives that joined us, you know, for the first time. And, you know, shout out to, you know, more props and shout out to Roo. You know, she tapped into her network and, you know, a recent you know, event that she participated in prior to, you know, Human Rights Week, and was able to, you know, bring some of the folks over from that, you know. So that's you know, that's something else, you know, just bringing folks in from our other circles and the other work that we're doing that's maybe not directly connected to human rights, but bringing those folks over and, you know, let them know that, yeah, we're, you know, we got the Roo got the goddess conversations going on. I got the numerology. We got the books going on over here, but we got the human rights going on over here, and it's all connected. It may not seem like it's connected or related on the surface, but everything's connected in some way. So come on over here, you know, have a seat and join us, because it takes a collective effort to come up with solutions. Because that's something that we do emphasize in everything that we do. Everything is a solution based.
You know, expectation, you know, I have in the past had a lot of expectation. I expect great things from my people, and I don't make no secret of that. So whoever hears my voice right now, if you know me, when you meet me, know that I expect the best from you. Period. You come into my space, I expect the highest from you, the best efforts from you, regardless of what station you are at in your life. I give no excuses for what station you are at not being able to give your best. So let me say that first. However, as I discussed one year in our healing chambers space about mental wellness and instability in that place, where there's great expectation, there's great opportunity for hurt and disappointment and pain and all these other things. And not only that, despair. And as a humanitarian, I just could not wrap my mind around why this wasn't important enough to put down whatever thing was going on in Hollywood, whatever thing was going on, where it, whatever thing was going on. I couldn't for the life of me understand why they didn't see the connection. Like Nick said, this is all connected. No matter what you are doing, no matter what lively pursuit you're going to take, these things are important, even just for the sake of knowing the documents that govern the space in which you occupy. You know what I mean? They talk about things like, I'll use this word for lack of better words, law-abiding citizen. Well, the only way you could be a law-abiding citizen is if you know the laws you got to abide by, right? So if you have rights that are not being, given to you, or you are taking advantage of, how could you even know if you don't know them? If you don't know your rights? And so the disappointment that came with it for me was just, they don't care. And my grandmother used to say we was all going to hell in a handbasket. Well, I want out the handbasket. I'm going to let you know that. But more than anything else, I was... it's I got a lot of words. I'm gonna just say disappointed. I was disappointed because I know that to uplift fallen humanity, like you hear all these groups and organizations run around here talking about, if we ever gonna do that, we gonna need to have some solutions. And the only way we have solutions is if we stop having meetings about the meeting, talking about the problem that's talking about the problem. We need to really be coming in solution based. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate most about going from even that one day to this 1 week project, is because anybody that knows me knows I'm very intentional when it comes to putting together anything. I have 7, 8, 10 pages of notes. We may only use one thing off those notes, but you better believe I have enough notes, research, and study to back up anything I'm saying. And so if people only knew the hard work that went into one day, they can't imagine the hard work that I had to do to make this into a week. And not only a week where we were doing one type of platform, but several platforms. We did Zoom, we did live, we did Clubhouse, we did in person in the community. You know who was standing out there? You understand what I'm saying? Handing out books in the cold, trying to get people to, do you know one of your human rights? And so just, I don't know, just the lax approach people take towards the life they say they want to live. If you tell me you want to live well, and then I ask you what living well looks like to you, and then I tell you there's a way for you to do that and you don't do it, I really start to question, who are you, who you say you are, and do you want what you want? Because if not, I don't have no time to be casting no pearls. You feel me? I just don't, because I put too much into this, and I got a whole, when I say world of my own, you know, people talk about saving the world and uplifting fallen humanity. That initial humanity is the people around you. You understand? So that means you have to be an example on a different level. Like I said, I knew things about this, but I went in here and I was so overwhelmed at some of the things that I read that I wept, because I'm like, this is ridiculous. From human trafficking to homelessness, you know, lack of medical care, you know, just the things that are so basic and so simple that you would think that anybody could understand its importance, and to know that people would rather know who was popping their tail on stage, or who got locked up for doing what thing, or, you know, to know that that's more important. It was a heartbreaker for a humanitarian. It was a heartbreaker for me. However, anybody that knows me know that made me more determined. That's all it did. It just made me go harder. That's all. So if I come at you and I'm screaming like this, you know, so just be able to handle it. I'll give you a hug and a cookie afterwards, but you're gonna have to get that work though, because I'm not playing.
So since it's the calendar year change, what they talk about, new year, new you, right? One of my transformative declarations is that I will adopt on this program, this platform. You said it's 30 rights, right?
Yes, sir.
A month. To Human Rights Month. Virtually, one right a day, have it go. Y'all ain't got to be here 30 days, but I'll do a 30-day prep for whenever it goes to coincide or alignment with uh, Human Rights Week that y'all doing in person.
I appreciate
So
that.
I'll add in a caveat and use it however y'all see fit. If y'all want to take the clips, whatever y'all want to do, to use as promotional tools, however it go. You know, Nick, he already in my mind. All right, you understand what I'm saying? So, a way to, you know, shift the consciousness, because we know what's at stake, right? We know what's at stake. Our children, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're our physical children or community children, whether
Yeah.
they're our grandchildren or children we ain't never seen yet. A dedication has to be set aside. So I'm there for that. Could we go through a few of them? And I know we wanted to talk about the education, so can we, you know, add that in and, you know, hone
Absolutely.
in on it?
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you for that. We, like you said, we have open invitation. We invite everyone to come out. It doesn't matter what your background is, because we realize, that raising a child takes a whole community. That means everybody, from the old school blacksmiths to, you know what I'm saying, to the super educators, in our universities and communities and things like that. So I appreciate that. And Knowledge Born, um, knows a lot of educators across, the nation, even across the world. The brother's internationally known, so even if we could just have one educator come on and speak to what's going on in their school system and things that they've been able to change or implement, I think that would help, because moving forward, we see that we are going to have to build education spaces for our youth. They're closing schools left and right. Universities are closing. Elementary schools are closing, and I don't know what people think, but that does not mean that education stops. We're going to just stop educating the children. You know, people forget when they say children are the future. These are the people that's going to be running your country when you old and you can't do nothing. I mean, these are the ones, if they can't read past the 4th grade reading level, you understand, as they say, a large percentage, you know, we covered a lot of, you know, statistics when we were doing education week. These children can't, some of them can't read beyond 4th grade reading level. So because of things like that, you know, we need more educators. So that's something I would love to see. And if knowledge, you know, during that time, you assist us during that time, if you could help us find more educators who are passionate about coming out and talking about what's been working, what they've tried in their spaces, that would be awesome. So he asked me to cover a couple of the articles. You know, one of the things we did in the beginning is we would just take one article, because it was only one day. We would take one article and we would, you know, try to break it down, have a conversation, involve the parents, involve the educators or whatever. But before we do that, I just want to be able to share this part. You know, people always talking about why I don't have, you know, or why is this not happening, or why is this not happening? They complain about the system. And this is on page 1. Now, mind you, look at how thick this book is. They send you, where am I at? This way. Okay. This is the book they send you, how thick it is, right? For the educator, right? This is the book they give you to hand out in the community, right? So in this book, they basically go about showing you how to present this information and some of the history and things like that to the community. And you know, I'm always big on asking people, well, what happened before that, and what happened before that, and what happened before that. And so the opening line here is, how important are human rights? And they said, long before the phrase human rights came into existence, men and women have fought and died for the basic human freedoms. In fact, this struggle has lasted thousands of years and still does today. And then it talks about looking at the world wars and the deaths of tens of millions of people, and these things, looking to bring together these nations. This is part of why, you know, this Declaration of Human Rights instrument has been used in promoting the things that, again, uplift fallen humanity. And so this sentence, this paragraph here is where I want to read from. So bear with me. It says, the recognition of the inherent dignity and the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. The grim reality, however, is that in virtually every country of Earth, some portion of the population is a victim of torture, human trafficking, starvation, injustice, discrimination, and other human rights abuses. And it says the message of human rights should be clear, but these nations are not listening. And then they ask why. You hear me? They ask why. And it says, because no one is making them. This is in their own book. No one is making them. No one is making them. So here, that's like if I had a job as a street cleaner, and I know my job is to clean the street, and I'm not doing it in the street dirty, y'all should be making me, or I lose my job. One or the other. It's that simple. You see what I'm saying? So I can't understand how, you know, we don't realize that if we want these things, we're going to have to make these things happen. And we're going to have to stand up and say, this is what I deserve. This is what's right for me. And this is what should be being done, not just here, but abroad. Also, the other thing that I wanted to highlight is, just like you said, that, you know, they have the number of 2,500 years before this was written that, you know, human rights has been a thing, but we know that there's never been a time that man wasn't. So as long as man has been on earth, they've been seeking to live their lives in ways that's upright and moral for the most part, right? But this particular document came back into play in 539 BC. A Persian king named Cyrus the Great was the one who sat down and penned what they are now considering the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So one of the questions we had this year, well, 2024, was what was going on that we had to sit down and have somebody tell you, hey, yo, y'all doing, you're wilding out. You know what I mean? Like you're doing some things. Maybe we need to tell you that you can't kick the dog. You know what I mean? Maybe we need to put this in writing for you to understand. So the articles we covered this year were, or should I say 2024, still getting used to being in 2025, was Article 25 and Article 26. Article 25 talks about the right and standard of human living, health and well-being, including food, clothing, and shelter and medical care, necessary social services, the right to security in the event of employment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, lack of livelihood, and circumstances beyond one's control. Also, it spoke about motherhood and childhood as entitled special care spaces. So this is not, now I want to say, and we even said it then, this is not saying fathers don't have rights, but women and children, whenever they would say, think about whenever something's going on, they'd be like, get the women and children out first, you know? Why? Because that's the future and the people that nurture the future. So getting the women and children out is always important. So women and children, motherhood and childhood are supposed to be entitled special cares or spaces. But what we're here to talk about is the right of education, and that's Article 26. Nick, did you want to read that for us? Article 26?
Yeah, give me one moment. Let me scroll down to it. I'm on the website. I don't have my booklet with me, so I'm on the website.
Ooh, shame on you. Shame on you. You don't have your booklet. Ooh, shame on you.
I'm prepared.
He said, I'm here, but I wasn't prepared for a quiz. I wasn't prepared for a quiz.
All right.
Ain't no knowledge was gonna do us like that. Like, yo, like, hold on, fam. What you talking about? What you talking about knowledge, Willis?
All right, hit him with it, Nick. Hit him with
all right. Article 26. Article 26 has 3 parts to it. Part 1: everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. Higher education shall be equally accessible. Interesting. All right, number 2, education shall be directed to the full development of the human. Let me start that again. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. In part 3, parents have a prior right to choose. Parents have the prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children.
Yeah.
That's Article
I'm about
20.
to get my dissectology on. Okay.
Go ahead. Do that.
When was this established? Re-established? What year was it?
48.
1948.
1948.
Well, initially it has us at 539 BC, And then it talks about moving forward towards the time of Magna Carta 2015. In other words, they showing reincarnations of the same information developed in a different way. So they use the Magna Carta, they use the Petition of Rights in 1628, the United States Declaration of Independence 1776, the Constitution of the United States 1787. Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen in 1789. Very interesting point if anybody wants to go and read up on that. The first Geneva Convention in 1864. The United Nations establishment from 45, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights itself at 1948.
All right. Beautiful timeline. Beautiful timeline to describe human personality, not human being, human personality, right? Human personality. So for them first couple 100 years, we had personalities, but we weren't human, all right? First couple of 100 years until some folks was trying to get votes, and legislation was discussed about 3/5 and all of that, right? 3/5 human. I don't know how many percentage that is for personality, right? So that is interesting that a country on the side of a continent could establish itself in 1776, and then in 1948 they can discuss rights, right? They can discuss rights. But their constitution, a Declaration of Independence, all of that stuff says certain inalienable rights, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Education ain't in there, right? Because a lot of them folks couldn't read. But we, right? We the people, right? The human personality. That's why Nick is fly. I'm telling you, fly guy, man. I'm telling you, human personality, like human, and then a distinction. Like it was almost there. Like he was almost dealing with humans, and then human rights. We got Human Rights Day, Human Rights Week, and we discussing human, and then the contractual language that's presented is ambiguous.
True.
It's ambiguous to include ambiguity, right? To include ambiguity. It's like, I don't know if they're people or not people or whatever they are. Then it's like parents. Parents give birth to children, right? They give birth to children. They don't give, well, we do give birth to children personalities, but children, right? Children are human beings, right? We got the receipts, what they call it, certificate of live birth, right? That's another thing, right? But we got proof of purchase. Okay, proof of purchase. This is what receipts are for the folks that use the terminology. I come from this whoever, they be like, "Oh, I got receipts." I'm like, "Oh, proof of purchase. What you buy? How much it cost you?" You understand what I'm saying? Even if you only paid attention, but human personality became something in regards to this right of education that was ambiguous, where everything else seems, because you start walking this path to where you look at a nation state in the midst of a world war for the second time, not for the first time, for the second time, right? And an involvement of a people that didn't have the proper aptitude, according to you, to join the services. So when they do that armed service vocational aptitude battery test, everybody didn't get it. Everybody didn't get it. You didn't have to take a test. So when you look at the state of the United States and its military at that time, it was just draft 1A.
Yes.
So you registered. It was not like you didn't have a thing. So either you got it or you didn't. So when you went in there, they trained you up for a little bit and sent you off to war. We'll worry about the rest of it later. So the right education, your education was a socialization in the military, like the rest of the world. When you turn a certain age and you're a young adult male, you have a 2-year to 4-year obligation in this military. America took that model, right? America took that model, and with that model, it began doing this draft 1A situation. If y'all remember watching Dead Presidents, it was 3 or 4 of them in that milk cart truck, right? And one out of those guys had got drafted, 2, right? And then Anthony, he volunteered. You see what I'm saying? So there was a different status that's associated with him. So America could say human rights. If y'all could do the Google thing for me, look up the Tuskegee experiment and see when it started. If y'all could look and see what the date or the year of the Tuskegee experiment started and how long it lasted.
I think Nick is going to grab that for you. And while we're waiting for Nick to grab that, I want to say, again, we have to realize the document, or should I say the instrument, because that's the difference. It's a document and then there's an instrument. This is an instrument that is being used, and they make that language clear. And for those who love the language shenanigans, they'll have a ball with this. And we even talked about that a little bit during the week. I was like, if you want to do shenanigans with me, we can do that in a bonus video. But for right now, we're talking about what's on this document. And you have to understand, this instrument was adapted and changed according to the landscape, like you said, of the people who it was supposed to apply to. You have to remember when the United Nations was formed. So before the United Nations was formed, you still had human rights, but who was making sure that they were being imposed? But here's one better. Like we said, in 539, in order for Cyrus the Great to be able to sit down and say, we now need a working instrument, you have to ask yourself, what was going on right before then? How bad was it that I had to sit down and tell you that women and children, we got to protect the women and children? Like, what was going on that I have to tell you that, you have the right to food, clothing, and shelter? One of the things that I find interesting about what you said was that pursuit of happiness. People don't realize it don't say the actual getting happiness. It said the pursuit of it. You know what I'm saying? And then we all know happiness is fleeting. So you're chasing something that's going to come and go. So that's not even something that's, for real tangible. You know what I'm saying? So knowing that all of this language out here, every one of these documents that I mentioned, they still use these in arguments today in these courtrooms.
Right.
They still use some of this. They still use the Dred Scott case often. Right. So my thing is this: when we're talking about this document here, what we were doing, knowledge, is not even trying to get the people to say, well, let's go fight the power, we're gonna get a. We just want you to, do you know what's there? Do you know what's there governing you right now? Do you know what they say you have the right to right now? Because if you do, you wouldn't be suffering the way that you are without some kind of resolve or some kind of way to go in and say, well, it's time for us to get what it is said that we should have. So so that's definitely, I
Yeah, and that speaks to how we had the week laid out for 2024. We started with what are our human rights, and do you know what they are? And then listen, it wasn't super complicated. We kept it simple. The two big pieces were, do you know what they are and that they exist, and how can we provide those rights to each other? Those were the main two pieces right there.
Yes, it's like, again, it just goes back to what I was saying.
It wasn't no go, like you said. It wasn't no go out there and fight the power and bring down the establishment. It's how can we carry out these rights ourselves for one another?
Exactly. I know families who text each other in the same house. They text each other from room to room, about the craziest nonsense. But you ask them to sit down in one room and talk about any said thing. And one, they can't keep off of these devices.
Mm-hmm.
And two, you know what I mean? They don't know how to carry the conversation forward. I would like to just, throw this in really quick.
I just wanted to add a little timeline point. It was purposeful. America is a nation that has been in an establishment for under 250 years.
Absolutely.
And of its 250 years, it's been a nation at war with the exception of 23 years.
Yes.
So about 200 or more years of war. So the documentation comes about while an experiment on a population of its people, citizens, right, quote unquote, that lasted 40 years. From 1932, so that's the precipice of World War I, and then the Great Depression time period, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. This is officially a study that's happening at the same time that the Tuskegee Airmen are saving the lives of the counterparts of the people that are experimenting on them with the people that they're telling that they have tails, to look at them for tails. You understand what I'm saying? So the mind-boggling space. There's not a conflict that hadn't happened in American history, whether America was America or on its way to be America, where these particular groups of citizens, quote unquote, were not involved militaristically, whether they had weapons or not. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just painting a picture of the language that's there that comes in 1948 when we have roots between 1492 and 1555 or 1619, whatever calendar of calculation that is there, and then roots prior to any of that, right? Roots prior to any of that space of occupation, and the human and the rights weren't necessarily a thing that had to be written on the wall. You see what I'm saying? So if you looked at commandments, it's like, oh, commandments. I'm like, all right, if you're in the house, you know the rules. If you're a visitor, you got to think about some rules. If you're in the house, you know the rules, right? If you're a newcomer or a visitor, it's something different. So if you're a newcomer to the planet and you ain't been around humans before, you wouldn't know humans or humans and rights. So now we got to write them on the wall because this thing don't know how to treat people, don't know how to treat nature, don't know what to do with themselves. And then you show them what to do with themselves, and then you expect them to be human, but you told them that they was right. You understand what I'm saying? So they leased on the planet and on the planet in its entirety, and then localization of instrument, because you used that word, instrument of actualization to a people who ain't never been human or ever been right. And we have it, right? So now the humans modeling after that behavior, because it appears right to them, have to be re-educated in the proper faculty, aptitude, mental, emotional, spiritual re-education in regards to what it means to be human, right? And one nation under God, indivisible. Right? This is what they say.
That's what they say.
Liberty and justice for all, right?
That's what they say.
I heard one nation under a group getting down just for the fun of it. I would believe that over this allegiance, right? Because this place doesn't have an allegiance to its citizens except for taxation. So it was just interested in that regard. I was just painting a picture from the mind space in regards to a permanent subjugation space, that not in a victimhood space, but in a recognition space, to be able to bring to light to its eradication. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a human right violation, right? So there's a discussion about compensation in the form of reparations, and we look for those things, right? Y'all know I have a book and docu-series asking the research question: does the hip hop industry owe Black people reparations in particular? So that's a book, and that's the docu-series that I'm working on for that subject. Now, it's from this a research question, and I'll ask and I'll be quiet. Is America culpable in human rights violation of its citizens, according to this instrument or this document?
Everyone is. The world. The United Nations has a representative from everyone in the world. And so even when you had when we had lost you there for a second, I had read this part that talked about the grim reality is that virtually every country on earth, some portion of the population is a victim of torture, human trafficking, starvation, injustice, discrimination, and other human rights abuses. See, we forget, just because something is in place telling people the right thing to do don't mean they actually gonna do it. You understand? We have to remember what people we're dealing with. We are dealing with a people who thrive on war and blood and tyranny and rape and pillaging and suffering and all of these different things. Again, that's why I appreciate where you are taking this conversation, but because of the experience that Nick and I have had in doing this, we realize we cannot get to that conversation you're having right now until we get the people to just recognize that they need to be having conversations at all. You understand? I'm a grandparent several times over, right? Like I said, I homeschooled my children, but my grandchildren, they live in the States and abroad. And I look at their education, and my children and I, we talk about the education. And because I have 13-year-old grandchildren, one in the States and one, abroad, we talk about the differences in their curriculum. My son in Germany he gets to shape and mold. They just did my granddaughter's new courses for the upcoming fall, mind you. But here in the States, my other granddaughter is getting packets. You understand what I'm saying? So when it tells us that parents have the prior right to choose the kind of education. Let me find out what parents sat around and said that packets were okay for the children, let alone what's in these packets. We're talking about them teaching children as young as kindergarten about sex. So see, the conversation you want to have, that revolutionary conversation, that big, we got to get ready to do what we do conversation, it's definitely there for the ones who are mature enough to have it. But for the most part, we can't get these parents interested in their own children's education. We saw that during the time in. These parents did not want to be bothered with their children in school. Even over the internet. How many times have you seen a child on the internet, parent in the background with their boobies or their butt out because they done forgot the kids is on school, you know? And you know what? And this is an interesting statistic you can go to Nick more about. Look at how the grades looked before, during, and after. You know, I don't like to say children got dumber, but children got dumber. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love my babies, but man, and the structure is gone. You see what I'm saying? They take these things like a packet. If I give you a packet and say, okay, Tommy, do this packet by Tuesday. Tommy can do that packet on Monday night. But if I give you a packet and if I have a laid out curriculum and I say on this day we learn this, on this day we cover this, on this day we cover this, this keeps them engaged, this keeps them active, this keeps them present. We always talk about them learning the past and this false history. Tell them what's going on now, but you have to be involved. You can shape what their curriculum looks like. Do you think I was teaching my children the stuff that was going on in the school system that a state had just taken over because they found it incompetent? No. What's the use of bringing that curriculum home? I sit down and I write the curriculum I feel that's most important to prepare my children for the world they're going into. And things like this, and knowing what's going on in the world around you every day, that's what's important. Because then they'll be able to have discussions like the one you want to have, because they're going to have those conversations with their parents. And if the parents are not ready to have these conversations, this is why we have so many youth running around here using good information, but applying it poorly, if at all. So our goal was just to get the people to say, hey, this is here. Let alone, this is here, and you have the right to shape and mold what your child education look like. Stop letting somebody else, how do they say it? If you let the enemy educate your child, what? You see what I'm saying? And that's what's been happening.
Only a fool will let his enemy educate his child. Because now you created another enemy. So I'm not looking towards the children. I'm looking at the collective. You know what I was doing during the end and what I was working with publicly and privately. You know what I'm saying? Intimately. And the states of spaces with people, right? And what people were doing to their own family members. And what they're still doing to their family members. Like I never move away from that. I understand intervention, and I'm gonna give way to Nick because he is an anomaly, and more of those anomalies need to be brought to light because we can paint with a broad brush and miss those who are actually working actively for our betterment, because we put it in the box, because buzzwords that come from them same places where folks got PhDs and a bunch of money for books and consultations, saying stuff like school to prison pipeline and all of these other buzzwords, right? They got all of the no child left behind and all this all extra stuff, right, that they say, and don't have the sense of wherewithal to go any further than a headline or a presidential debate topic. Or they're like, what's the PTA? Like, what's the Board of Education? Like, who's the principal? Like, who's your child's teacher? Whatever it is, any of those things, right? Any of that, like, none of that. No relationship with that at all. You understand what I'm saying? So now it becomes a process of deprogramming and then education. So this is before any sort of everything else, right? So I saw one thing that was like, oh, I'm about to bring my children to the teacher's house. And the people was like, yeah, we just going to drop them off and let them, like, what? Like, you said my children to somebody else's? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that was the insanity that was associated with it amongst the fear-mongering and all of the other psyops that were happening, the psychological operation. Yeah. So, in the thick of it and then in the midst of it, the practical thing that I could do in the public was have a lunch 5 days a week. You see what I'm saying? And knowing that with each day, regardless to what the interaction is, like any other treatment program, day zero. You could be back on day zero. After establishing with no funding, no nothing, nobody coming in doing none of that. You understand what I'm saying? So reminiscent of what they attribute to the Black Panther Party for self-defense, this was just a couple of us. A couple of us had the elders and a couple of us had the youth. And then it went from a couple of us and a couple of us to a couple of us for real. And it is what it was. And then there was some other people who were focusing on some of the other things. So that wherewithal with the what they call another word. What's another one in words? Industrial complex for everything, right? We get to all of that, and then we just gloss over those who are typecast based off of affiliation that we don't understand. So, Mr. Nick, Brother Nick, King Brother,
yes,
intervene, please.
I mean, it's it's not much to say to that. Just that when you're 10 toes down in the grassroots, in the grind, none of those buzzwords really matter, unless they're part of the lesson, of course. unless you're educating the children about these issues as a part of their training and preparation, to go forth and to be citizens in the future, especially dealing with the age level I work with, because I work with high school students. So I have them at the last, and this year I'm actually teaching seniors. So I have them the last step before they actually go into the world.
Right.
So I really don't have much time to waste to, of course, in my downtime or my downtime, I might complain or make a comment about policy and things that seem unnecessary. But at the end of the day, I don't have time. We're required to be in school. I believe it's 182 days, and then with 182 days, you're taking into account, the holidays, field trips, snow days, standardized testing days, activities, senior activities, and all the things that go on that take away from the time. And then of course you have the human condition, because of course I want to come in there and be on go time day in and day out. But it's these young people have things they're dealing with outside of school, social and emotional needs and issues that they're coming to school with. Some of them, coming with deficits. As a matter of fact, going back to what you were saying about that unplanned time at home rule, when you want to talk about grades, it's actually the opposite of what you're probably thinking or expecting. The grades were amazing. The grades were out of the roof, flying colors on paper. But once they return, you look at the skill levels and you're like, wait a minute, something's not adding up. What they say, the math ain't mathing or something like that.
Hey.
So we found out that the children were given A+ for coloring inside the lines, in 8th grade and 9th grade and all of that. So, so now we making up what they call another buzzword I'm going to throw out for you, knowledge born learning loss.
Oh,
you gotta make up for the learning loss from that.
Let me update my schema. Add learning loss in that joint.
Yeah, the learning loss from that unplanned time that we had. So we dealing with grade inflation, the grades not matching the ability. So going back to what I said when I first started, I don't have time. I don't have time to worry about all these fancy buzzwords and policy things that were going on. I had to, in my subject is English, and English just pretty much translates for me. It just translates into effective communication. I'm teaching you how to read, write, speak, and listen. Those 4 foundational skills so you can prepare for whatever you're going to do after this secondary education, whether that's going to college, trade school, going into the workforce, starting a business. Whatever you decide to do, you're going to need these skills. You're going to need to be able to communicate effectively, read, write, speak, and listen effectively in order to be a successful and productive citizen for yourself, your family, and your community. So that's why I got to say I'm not sure if that answers your inquiry or your question, but that's what I got to say about those buzzwords.
We about to check them out now. Got to check them out. All right? I'm saying,
Absolutely.
We got to check them out because he said all that and then exited. You know what I'm saying, quietly with the one finger up, like, all right,
Yeah, that's
of course. Yeah.
I apologize for cutting your bill, but just thinking about what Nick was saying about when they came back, when the youth went back to physical school, I think another thing we saw was people not knowing how to act together anymore. And I want to go back to Article 26 on education, where in part 2 it talks about education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. I go so far as to say the respect for human life. We've had more youth commit suicide, commit murder, suicide, than we like to talk about. And we don't talk about it enough in this community because, it goes right along with the stigmas and stereotypes of mental illness and all these other things, which let me just say, though, I am glad to see more people doing mental health stuff, even if it's only Mental Health Mondays. They still doing something. We're having some kind of dialogue, some kind of conversation about, like Nick said, they have very real things going on outside of the schoolhouse. And this is not new. Let's just say that, because we know it's nothing new under the sun. It's just more advertised. And the more that it's advertised, like my mama used to say, monkey see, monkey do the same as you. So you get these people, seeing all these things being done. And that's why a dance can go viral and a song can go viral and a contest can go viral, because these children are easily influenced even more now because of the spaces and places in which they spend most of the time. And that's in the cyber world, in the interworld, the interwebs. And, people can say what they want about our childhoods and them being traumatic and the whoopings we got and all kinds of stuff. But I'm going to tell you like this, we a different breed. You know what I'm saying? We a different breed folk. And, call us traumatized, call us what you will, but we are the ones sitting here having this conversation now. I remember during the lecture circuit, and I don't want to go too far but it goes right back to this fundamental freedoms, going to lectures, right? I remember not just myself, but some of the other elders were talking about how we would see these parents breaking their neck to get to lectures every Saturday, because we had them every Saturday. Somewhere you can go to Jersey, Harlem, Philadelphia, someplace, and catch a lecture that was just out of this world, right? But you know what you didn't see a lot of? Children. But you know what? If you ask my daughter right now, she said, you dragged us to everything. Yes, I did. I did. And you know what? For it, I would rather have a conversation with them than some of these grown folks out here in these streets. They got more sense than some of these grown folks. They remind me that while it was difficult, it was challenging trying to be able to provide for them what they needed because I had children across the age ranges. So I had to, a curriculum for a third grader is not the same as a seventh grader. So I was working. I had a high school kid. It was a lot, but they remind me that the personalities and the people that I see today, it was shaped and molded because I took enough time to actually care. And that's what we're trying to do with this space, Knowledge Born, is we're not trying to change a system that they have kept rechanging since 539 BC that hasn't worked yet. We are trying to talk to who we have access to change them and say, this is the blueprint they have. Let's take from it what we can use and leave the rest behind, because truly, some of this stuff should just be common sense. Some of it should just be common sense. And I'll go so far as to say this is that I can remember being in school and they ain't care much about our human personality. That's all I'm going to say. They ain't care much about your human personality. They taught you to memorize, take tests, and shut up and stay in a child's place. You know what I mean? So, when we talked about education, Nick will tell you and others will tell you, one of my biggest things when I woke up was I realized I was one programmable, controllable, I had straight A. I was a straight A student. Graduated top of my class, high school, graduated top of my class, college 2 times. So it was just like, oh, you was real easy. You know what I'm saying? But it's the part of me that will never bow down to injustice. It's the part of me that always want to see the upliftment of those around me, that will never allow me to just complacent. You know, I remember seeing the movie The Spook That Sat by the Door, and it changed my mindset, because I realized while I had been this perfectly programmable person, everything I was learning, I was taking and I was giving to my community, which is part of my responsibility. And I'll finish with this. Article 29, everyone has duties to the community, in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. If you live in a community, it is your duty. It is your duty to uplift those in your community. And that's why we do Human Rights Day, Human Rights Week, and we make sure that we talk about it all year round.
That was such a bomb. I fell off the screen. You understand what I'm saying?
Same thing. I'm like, you got to drop one on that one.
Jeez, I ain't got nothing else to say. Look, thank y'all for coming out. God bless. Good night. All right. Closing remarks. I don't want to ask another question. I have nothing else to say. All right. Human Rights Day, week, month, all year.
Yeah.
Nick, did she do it? Did she do it, Nick? Did she do it? Okay, all right.
I mean, every time, man.
If y'all ain't hear nothing else from this discussion for the last almost 2 hours, that part right there, remember that part. Go tell somebody. Okay.
Tell somebody.
Tell somebody. So final remarks. I'm serious. I don't want to talk about nothing else. I'm
done.
I'm done. All right. All right. My minute is over. All right. So final remarks, acknowledgments, talk about your platform, the unread, everything, whatever y'all want to say. Good luck. I'm speechless over here, and that's rare. All right. Mama did that.
Thank you, beloved. Nick, you want to go ahead and tell them all the things you got going on?
I mean, I'll just tie up this this Human Rights Week wrap up from December 2024, and just reemphasize those two main points that I emphasized, a few moments earlier. One, just making sure the people out there are aware that the Universal Declaration human rights tool and document is a thing that exists, and what it consists of. So we highlighted. I mean, we went into depth on the education. We mentioned another one of the human rights, but we encourage you to definitely go and read the entire document. You can find that on the United Nations website, un.org. That's un.org, and just click on that Universal Declaration of Human Rights so you can familiarize yourself with the rest of those articles. And we want to make it practical and solution-based. Practical solutions. And the practical solutions are to find ways that we can ensure that we are being humanitarians towards each other, global humanitarians towards each other. And what can we do to make sure that all of our people are having these basic human rights, making sure that all of our people are fed and properly educated. I just saw a commercial, I think yesterday, for the Covenant House when we was talking about food, clothing, shelter. So what are so I would say seek out the people that's doing the work, already. I mean, of course, you have us, but there's other people out there with organizations and institutions that are doing the work, making sure people are fed, clothed, making sure people are educated, within and without or outside of the traditional formal education system. So make sure you are supporting those people, supporting the media. Look, Knowledge Born Allah, he recently dropped a series designed to educate our people and get them that information that they probably not receiving within the traditional education system. You know, so support the people that's already doing the work. You know, it's and I would much rather you do that. I mean, of course, you know, I want you to check out the work, the other things that I have going on, but make that the priority, because I know, you know, you don't want to give people too many things to do. Give them a long list of things like, yeah, go here, you know, follow this, go click on that. You know, you don't want to give them too many things to do. But, you know, first and foremost, you know, make sure you're familiar with the Declaration of Human Rights. You know, make sure that you're carrying out those human rights, because the organizations that created the document and create the human rights, they're not doing it. As a matter of fact, like Knowledge Born alluded to, they're actually committing the crimes against the human rights. You know, that's a whole nother conversation. So it's up to us to make sure that we have our human rights. So that first and foremost, you know, of course, I'm an astronumerologist as well, supreme numerics. You know, you can check out how I take the numbers and the planets and the stars and use that to help, you know, guide, you know, humanity towards living their best lives and being the best versions of themselves. And so you can find that content on Instagram and YouTube. Instagram, Mr. Westbrooks, MrWestbrooks. My website is supremenumerics.com. YouTube is Mr. Westbrook's class, where you can get that astronumerology content and lessons, as well as Unread Book Review. That's where Unread Book Review is powered on Mr. Westbrook's class every other Saturday. Next episode is coming up in less than a week, next Saturday on the 11th. And, you know, that's all I got going on. So I'll pass it on over to Roo so she can tell you what she got going on with us on yup, there goes supremenumerics.com. There's the website, and everything's there. You know, the booking for the sessions, the videos, all of it's there. Testimonials, all that good stuff. You know, so peace to the family. You know, thank you, Knowledge Born, for having me on the platform. And, you know, continue to be kind to kind people, be kind to yourself, and continue striving to be the best version of yourself. I'm out. Peace.
Listen, I am always in a state of awe when I get around my peers, because, again, like I said, growing up, I never thought I would find people who are just as awesome as I knew they could be. You know, it's a lot of people in the world, and when you find your A-likes, when you find those who are as serious as you are about refinement of self and uplifting community and family and all of these things, and, you know, working on their moral compass and you know, constantly staying aware that we need to be aware, is it's awe-inspiring. And I tell people, you know, it's hard to continue to keep up the fight when you see how many people just don't care. But it's people like you two and those who are listening and those who support us and have supported us in all of our platforms that remind me that it's a reason why we do what we do. So for that, I'm very, very grateful. And I'm always honored when I'm asked to come on Do Knowledge Radio. Knowledge Born, you are a wealth of information. And yes, people, check out his work, his offering. It's a new one coming. So we excited about that and can't wait to get you back on Unread and talk about that as well. In closing out our talk on Human Rights Week, Knowledge, you made some great points, and Nick, you reiterated it about the very people who are supposed to be enforcing, these human rights and assuring that every person in every country, because again, we have to remember there's a representative for every country. So when we hear about these things, these horrible things happening in these countries, you have to ask yourself, well, the person that's in charge of making sure that's right, what they doing? So we got to ask the hard questions, even though that's an easy one. But I wanted to finish out by showing two things. This is from November 2019. I went to an event called How to Survive the Future. And the event was in a very urban type community. However, it was no one there representative of us except for me. And it made me feel a kind of way, because they were talking about very important things. Now, again, this is 2019. They were talking about what we're going to do when the water's no longer any good, what we're going to do about the medicine, what we're going to do about the food, how we're going to survive, with capital, deconstructing the prison systems and policing systems. They were talking about that in 2019. And I remember thinking then, like, this is crazy. And that was the first year we had did the human rights day. So it was like, how are we going to survive the future? Why are we not talking about surviving the future? So this particular year, like I said, we moved to a week. And like many good places, at the end of an event, they send out follow-ups. And so I got this envelope in the mail. And it says United News for Human Rights. And they sent it out to all the educators that they asked to participate in Human Rights Week. And it's a paper. It's paper on the front. I don't know if you can see who's on it. It ain't you, right? It ain't you. But they got a classroom of people with the youth holding up their books. And you know what it says? Making Costa Rica a beacon for human rights in Central America. And then they talk about share your successful actions. So they asked in every school that participated or every grassroots organization that participated to talk about how they incorporated this into their day. On this page, they have the Argentinians. And at the bottom, they have a picture in front of United Nations, right? But then on the next page, it talks about the education and rights in Rwanda, right? And then on the very back, and I know this is a little long-winded, but it definitely will tie all together. And on the very back, it talks about how they really want to hear from us. And so they have 4 schools highlighted here. One is in Pennsylvania, one is in Italy, one is in California, and the other one is in South Korea. But what blew my mind was the facts that they had on the side. It says the right to education, which, by the way, we did not know that was going to be their focus this year. We chose that focus as one of our focuses from the beginning because out of all of these 30, this is one of the most important. And we knew that. But see, sometimes it takes somebody else to tell you. So it says the right to education is violated more than one might think, as revealed by these statistics. 773 million people worldwide are illiterate. 800 million youth lack basic literary skills. 16 million girls will be excluded from primary school and will never learn to read and write. 94% of primary age school children in low-income countries will not achieve a minimum proficiency level in reading. And finally, 128 million primary and secondary age children are out of schools in crisis-affected countries. Now, we touched a little bit about education for the homeless children in our communities and how that was lacking, and how, that was something that wasn't highlighted. But you see, you get a whole booklet after telling you everything that's going on everywhere but where you live. When does it come our responsibility to care about what's going on here? I love Rwanda. I love Korea. I love all these places, but I live here. I reside here. My children are here. My grandchildren are here. The youth in my community are here. So, I just say that, again, if the goal was to have these highbrow conversations about, what the actual United Nations is doing and what they not doing and how they supposed to be doing it and all that, we could go for hours, days, months, weeks, whatever, right? But just to get the parents talking, just to get the people talking, just to get the people understanding that these are conversations that need to be taking place right now if you expect any kind of decent tomorrow. Any kind of decent tomorrow. That goes for our economics, that goes for our agriculture, that goes for everything. And as you can hear from those statistics, our actual even just literacy rate, it makes no sense that we are behind like we are, but we lead in commerce and consumption. So just to close on human rights, again, like I said, it's my goal to be able to speak about it every day on some level. But I also know that I can't be the only one doing it. So my call to action is to ask anyone that's within the sound of my voice, pick up any one of the human rights and just think about it. You ain't even got to talk about it. Just think about it. Think about it. And I don't mean think about it with your program conditioned mind. I'm talking about pick it apart. Look at these words for all my word fanatics and figure out why it don't look the way that it said it should look. And again, for anybody that would like some great study points, please reach out to me at MaWu Liza Temple 1 on Instagram, and Gmail is MaWu Liza Temple at gmail.com. I have some great study points for you. Like I said, I got like 17 pages worth of notes. And again, there's a really big couple of questions that if you sit down with them, you'll see how we got to where we are now. You'll see how even this present day election has to do with what's going on then and now. You'll see how it's all tied together, in that if we don't have these conversations, we will continue to get what we have always got. And that is being the ones who suffer the torturing, the victimizing, the abuse, we can't build anything sustainable, not understanding that we got to give each other our rights. Everything has rights. Everything has rights. And we have rights over our brothers and sisters. We have rights over our community. And I'm tired of watching us be lax while we run around here in Cadillacs. That's right, bars. You feel me? I'm tired. You can look cute and everything, but you know what? Them shackles, when they turn from gold chains back into shackles, then we'll see who should be having these conversations. Because them big old beautiful chains and all them adornments that we wear, you know, even the bracelets that I wear, reminiscent. See, people wear things for different reasons. Reminiscent of the chains that not only they had on our bodies, but our minds. If we can't even begin to think about these things, we are lost. So just think about it. Pick up one, think about it. Do something with it. What do I have going on? Same thing I have going on every day, trying to take over the world. That's what I'm trying to do every day. What world? My world. Because I know how I want to live. And this ain't it, bro. This ain't it, sis. I'm tired. And I'm going to need y'all to be sick and tired of being sick and tired too. You know, as that old movie goes, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. But that begins here. Right here. So learn how to think, my people. And if you need some help, you got 3 folks right here that's willing to help you, direct you, and assist you and grow with you on this path, because we all growing. We all been subjected to this poison. All of us. And we all need to be healed out loud. Out loud. So thank you, Knowledge Born. Thank you, Nick. For those of you who have not caught us on Unread, come check out Unread. We have a lot of fun over there. We laugh. We talk about books. We have a great old time. And we have some amazing authors come through that's writing great books like the one Knowledge Born Allah has offered us. So I'm your sister Roo. You are always welcome to reach out to me. I appreciate you, and I promise you I will continue to give you the best of me as I refine myself to become better for me and for you. You gonna stop? Oh my goodness, you are a mess.
Thank you, Queen Mother. Thank you, King Brother, for coming through and being the MaWu Liza that we needed. Right? That's a mantra to return to, where we unify in the spirit of what's best for our people, whoever they are. If they didn't take anything away from that film that came out, you have to have a mind, and then you have to have an oversight. You have to have a vision, and then you have to have a society. So it's equipped from a space of love through devotion, but also love in the space of practicality for your future. So under God, in the spirit of our ancestors, and the continuity of a resilient people who choose themselves every day. Thank you both for the love that y'all continue to have, even when it looks a little bleak. And I pray that our Creator and that y'all family, ancestors, and spirit guides, and those that are watchful and protective over you, reward you for your laudable efforts and greatest pursuits. And all of those descendants that come from you, directly or indirectly, and that your work is remembered and honored, and you both are remembered in perfection when you're no longer physically here.
I say.
So that's it, all right? That's it, y'all, ladies and gentlemen. the great and wonderful dynamic duo coming through, showing us some love and dropping some bars. I ain't got nothing else to say. I'm out of here. Peace, y'all. Find something else to do. You understand?
Talk about it.
At 86, the devil raised the bar, but I'm a hurdler. And I'm the good thief. I sneak in your toxic house, the burglar. The musical Merkaba came to set free the Lucifer worshippers. Like James Bond 007, the soul of an old legend. Negative energy murderer. Good or evil, angel or demon interpreter. Kings with frankincense and myrrh. And perfumes anoint me soon as my birth occur. Like Ben-Hur, I'm indigenous to Gilgamesh. With brilliantness became the builders of the pyramids. Now we lost in American North wilderness. I became the force, a poor man's ventriloquist. On an island far away from home like Gilligan. Took us from our villages till we find our way back through resilience and our diligence. Through rags and wave caps, black fists look militant. In college remembrance, while living ignorance. Striving kids with innocence, dreams fly limitless. Straight towards the nebula, with cannon or the terror. Black boys face, we all in this together. I chase demons in my cape, my sword and my scepter. His brother Glow the Great, the lord of this era. Royal priesthood, gold plates and treasures. Anubis, my heart, weigh your heart against the feather. Carted Satan out your soul, lifting him out, he's on a stretcher. With my divine helicopter, with shocking propellers, outlines made of copper. The fortune teller, my dragon glows green like matcha. New York regalia, like Robin Walker is the prophet Walter. From the days of Iron Sheik versus Sergeant Slaughter. Blue around my garment borders. Fringes, execute vengeance. Mathematics, Qurans and Taurus. Rock the head of Horus. Rocks in the watch is gorgeous. Behind my will, it fell into the wheel. Metamorphing. Start spinning clockwise and counterclockwise. On the outside, my car became a flying saucer. Straight through the orbit. Use my mind. Lose my mind. I will. Use my mind.
Yo, masquerade killer, Michael hijacked the sun, matinee thriller. Zombie apocalypse, a center for disease, says my tracks are way iller. Isodrenochrome cubes keep they cabernet chiller. And thought this thought, they don't want you to think. Knowledge is power, shock the flower. Make my aura look pink. To know the ledge, godly hour, push your thoughts to the brink. You can't even close your eyes, become a corpse if you blink. Where the oracle sink, I was born in the Sphinx. Copper DNA necklace with historical links. Hiding poison in the food, in the water you drink. Cause they raised done and they just biding their time. Throw food, the lost tube coming down on my mind. Stab you with a light ray cause you was dying to shine. Then I disappeared like a truth post in your IG. Holy Spirit dripping like a ghost in your IV. Can't deport them all, we was already here. So get in tune with the voices in the water right here. You don't see the embryo in the form of your ear. Invisible man, I make myself awfully clear. Royal priesthood, astrologies is Lord of the Spheres. Throwing platinum plates, you thought the flying saucers appeared. Yeah, they scared to wear their own face in the street. Deep elixirs, beast addicted to the taste of the sheep. On Harry Potter's wheel, the god knew arrange my physique. Kai, Elohim, hemoglobin, the Arabian chic. 7 circles like the planets in the days of the week. Supreme math, solar facts in the language I speak. You brainwashed if you watching the news. Never make the wrong step when the laws in my shoes. The dream weaver make it seem there's no option to choose. Corona dope fiends, they be trying to nod. They in line to get shot, that's a fireman squad. Pharmaceuticals, shoot to kill line with the guards. I cried for the angel babies that have died in the fog. Caught up in the crossfire, like a panther in the Klan rally. Zodiac, they need these answers in my hands badly. Like palm readers, break dancers in the sand valley. I moonwalked on chemtrails in the sky. On the path to ancient Kemet, weigh the scales in my eyes. The sun and moon temple sitting on the side of my head. A million years, I still remember every line that I said. Hermes Trismegistus, serve me the statistics. 99 attributes of Allah, 99% survival rate. Imagine the odds when you're the Neo, you're the one that made the patterns evolve. Another chapter to solve, why did Saturn revolve? Spinal column, I am Amen, climb the ladder to Oz. On a rocket to Nebula, the planet of the gods. Use my mind, lose my mind, I will. Use my mind, I won't lose my mind. Use my musical math, get used to the craft. Use my mind, turn the mic to a producer staff. Trying to fit these odd shapes in the box. Tetragrammaton text, you see my face in the watch. Circle of light displayed in an arrangement of clocks. You can't be so diplomatic when you're breaking the locks. God Zodiac, Killer Priest. Wrong priest.
You cannot go without this book, and let me explain why. Voices of the Diaspora, written by Knowledge-Born Allah, takes you through countless and countless different blacks. From our scholars, our warriors, our great sisters, and even entrepreneurs. It speaks to the past, the present, and the future. There's even an action plan for us that are serious about businesses that we wanted to take on. Entrepreneurship is one of the first things that he speaks about. And if you're an avid reader, this is a 5-part series. So this is not only a great resource for ourselves, it's a great resource for us as parents. We can teach it and incorporate it into our lesson plans for our children.
Knowledge born. What's the science, baby?
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. That in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? No more. This man mine is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get back to the readiness.
And that motive is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.